All right, welcome everyone to the Hawaii Aquaculture Tech and Research Brown Bag, sponsored by NELHA and the Hawaii Aquaculture Collaborative, which is facilitated by the University of Hawaii Sea Grant Program. I'm Jean Schneider, representing the Sea Grant team, and Ray Nguyen is our co-host at NELHA. The recording and slides of today's session will be archived on the Actions page of our website, where you will also find previous sessions and other resources. Here are some future events for your participation. Today at 4 p.m., there is listening session number 1 of Transforming Hawaii's Food System Together. This organization is focused on changing Hawaii's food system and organizing agriculture for the upcoming 2024 legislative session. NOAA is requesting public comment on things that may impact Hawaii aquaculture, and we have Tori Spence here today to briefly help us understand that request. And on October 26th, there's a workshop on the feasibility of a Hawaii feed mill operation. I think that's in person as well as online. Registration deadline is October 15th. And at our November Tech and Research Brown Bag, we'll hear from our partners at Diamond Head Seafood on the progress of the HDOA ADC feed mill on Oahu. We are going to put some of these links in the chat for some of these events for you to register for. But at this time, let's hear from Tori on the NOAA request for public comment. Tori, did you change your slides, or should we go ahead with this one?
She just joined.
Oh, okay. Tori, are you on?
Hey, Jean, yeah, I am.
Hey, great. Yeah, did you change your slides, or are you okay to go with the ones you sent?
Oh, no, that's fine. I wasn't sure if you wanted me at the beginning or the end. I'm happy to do it now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Tori. If we haven't met, I work at NOAA, and I'm the Regional Aquaculture Coordinator here. I just wanted to give you a little heads up on 2 opportunities for public comment right now. Both of them are coming from our Protected Resources Division. And Jean, would you mind putting the links in the chat? They're in the notes of this slide.
Oh, okay.
If you can't, I might be able to pull it up real quick too. If not, I'll make sure the links are in the chat at some point in this presentation today.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. The first one is about marine mammal interactions. So under the Marine Mammal Protection Act, NOAA has to publish what's called the list of fisheries every year. And nationwide, there's more and more aquaculture kind of finding its way into the list of fisheries. The Marine Mammal Protection Act, the way it works, it's a bit, it's kind of more reactive. So it's kind of like if there's been a problem, then more things will be addressed, but it's not necessarily something that is preventative so much as far from like the producer perspective. Anyway, they're looking to have a better understanding and characterization of aquaculture technologies and gear types. So this is really everyone's chance to make sure that NOAA has accurate descriptions of kind of the state of the science when it comes to aquaculture, various gear types. This is really more referring to anything that's kind of coastal or in the ocean, because they have to describe how marine mammals may interact with those gear types. And this can kind of just help further analysis in the future. If there are interactions, they'll, our scientists and protected resources will have a better understanding and kind of a better categorization and library available to them. So I would highly encourage you to check that out. That'll be the first link that I send through in a few moments here. The second one is about sea turtle critical habitat. So sea turtles are endangered. So this one has to do with the Endangered Species Act, which is very preventative when it comes to comparing these 2 different acts and how they function. And so according to the Endangered Species Act, anything that has federal funding and could impact an endangered species, you have to go through a consultation to kind of describe what the impacts may or may not be to that species. And so having critical habitat designated for that species means that NOAA has kind of laid out a much more detailed outline of the habitats that are critical for that species to continue recovering. And so something to think about here, this is something that would affect anything that has current or future federal funding going towards it. According to anything that I've seen and heard around here and with our headquarters office, this would likely not impact the way that the consultations are written in our region already. So our region already has a history and a precedent of including and incorporating the aspects of critical habitat into those consultations. However, now this would be, an absolute requirement, and it would be like a subheader that's for sure going to be in that consultation. So again, that'll be the second link that I send through, and that link will have more information on the website about exactly where those critical habitats are. So you can, there's a bunch of maps available too. And so if anyone has any questions on either of these, please feel free to reach out to me and I can help connect you to the right people. I'll be putting my email in the chat as well. I think that about covers it here. I hope I didn't take too much of your time, but thank you again for letting me give kind of a description and an overview of these. And like I said, feel free to reach out to me if I can help clarify anything or connect you with people who can.
Thank you very much,
Oh,
Tori. Mika Brodsky here, and I want to just thank you very much for explaining that and letting us all know about that opportunity to provide feedback and public comment. I do have one quick question about this and about the habitat designation, and that is, I noticed there's lots of kind of highlighted areas if you look on the map, but it wasn't entirely clear to me when I was reading the description in the proposed rule whether or not it was the entire nearshore area surrounding the whole island between the high tide line and 20 meters of depth that was being designated, or if it was like a 45-degree angle out at, or a direct, like just a little swath directly out from the shoreline where those highlighted shoreline areas are on that map. And I'm talking about the designated critical habitat notice now.
So sorry, Mika, what's your question? You're wondering like the extent of that habitat physically on the map?
Yeah, like if I look on that map and let's say there's a mile-long beach that's highlighted, and it says that the critical area designation or the critical habitat designation is in those areas from the high tide line to the 20-meter depth. How do they, if there's a 1 mile long stretch of beach where that's designated, is it just a mile straight out, like a 1 mile wide corridor straight out into the ocean? Or does that go out at a 45-degree angle from there? Or is it the entire shoreline of the whole island?
I think I'm gonna have to look more closely at the proposed designation and get back to you. I'm not as intimately familiar with some of those details, and so I don't want to steer you in the wrong direction, but I can get back to you on that for sure.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
and
thanks.
Sorry, guys, the thing I put in the chat is I'm gonna have to put them separately. I don't think put part of it in, so apologies.
Thanks, Mika. Yes, thanks, Mika, and thanks, Tori. Thank you so much. And Mika, will you also put your contact info in the chat so people can get in touch with you on your question if they want verification on that? So thanks so much. And now let's get to our main event. Researchers Carly Wyman and Kuike Kamakea Ohelo are here today from ASU's Sweat Center for Sustainable Food Systems to discuss enhancing Hawaii's food security through aquaculture. We will also provide links to their bios in the chat, but let me introduce Carly and Kuike as passionate researchers and practitioners for food systems change in Hawaii. Carly is based on Hawaii Island and began her work getting her hands in the dirt as a farm laborer and then working with students as a garden educator. Kuike is based in Waimanalo on Oahu, and comes from a long line of farmers and fishermen. Both Carly and Kuike are here to engage with us on the work they're doing to support the growth of Hawaii's aquaculture industry. Welcome, Carly and Kuike.
Awesome. Mahalo, Jean. I'll go ahead and share my screen now. And I'm just going to jump into this pretty quick, since I know we're limited on time. But thanks for having us today. So yes, we are from the Sweetie Center for Sustainable Food Systems out of ASU. And we've been working, the Sweetie Center has been working in Hawaii since 2021. And this particular project is called Enhancing Hawaii's Food Security Through Aquaculture. And this is a USDA Agricultural Marketing Service funded project, funded through the Local Food Promotion Program. And it runs through next year. We're just about halfway through this research at the moment. And so I'll get us going, and then we'll hear a little bit more from Kuike later on. So project objectives, these are really the three main objectives of our research. The first is focused around market research. So objective 1A is to evaluate consumer perceptions and preferences for farm-raised local fish, including gray sea chub, mullet, milkfish, Hawaiian flagtail, Pacific threadfin, tilapia, and seaweed to grow the market potential for these species. And objective 1B, in partnership with fish pond producers, to develop and introduce a new trademark and production standards for local raised products that could help distinguish fish pond products from wild caught or farm raised. So today I'll be presenting mostly on this objective 1, as this is where most of our work has been so far. And as stated, we're only about halfway through, so we're very much in progress. But our second objective is to examine the supply chain. Oh, and just to say for objective 1B, this came from the KUA needs assessment. They put out a local needs assessment in 2020, and that was from KUA Aina Ulu Awamo, or KUA, in partnership with Hawaii Sea Grant. And so we pulled this particular objective from that report, so building on past work that's been done. And objective 2 is focused on examining the supply chain for aquaculture in Hawaii, and determine supply chain needs of Hawaii's aquaculture producers for meeting market demand, including employing strategies such as producer associations, financing, technical assistance, and marketing and food safety standards, including FSMA compliance. And then finally, our last objective is to share out our findings. So that's part of why we're here today. So the first part of our market research has consisted of a market landscape assessment. So we're collecting data quarterly. We're going to retail stores and fish markets, so grocery stores and fish markets, to collect data on all of the seafood that's available. This is the basic information that we're collecting. So the date, location, species, package size, the marketed name, especially if it differs from the species name, price, whether it's whole, fillet, breaded versus unbreaded, Hawaii, so country of origin, whether it's fresh or frozen, etc., production method, and then marketing claims and certifications. So some of the goals that we have from collecting this data is to really get a hold on what the average prices are for Hawaii aquaculture products versus imports or US continent products. And then also just to understand customer preferences, as what's available in the market is a reflection of that. And to see what marketing narratives are out there, particularly for farmed species, and then identify potential species for import substitution, and then also to understand seasonal changes in availability. So I want to emphasize that this is very preliminary data. However, this is from the first quarter of this year. So we collected data in Honolulu and Hawaii counties from 10 different grocery stores. And this is based on the number of products. So the majority of the products, the seafood products that we found, were wild caught, about 65%, and only about 21% were farm raised. So I think that from a marketing perspective, this really shows that Hawaii consumers very much do still have a preference for wild caught seafood, perhaps not unsurprisingly. And so there's really room for growth in getting more farm-raised foods on the table of Hawaii consumers, especially because globally we know that over 50% of seafood is farmed at this point. So, all right, and this is just a breakdown of the country of origin for those seafoods that we've identified in retail stores. So only about 16% of the seafood products that we identified were locally sourced from Hawaii. Including Hawaii, about 43% was of US origin, 31% was imported, and 18% was imported from Asia, which included Vietnam, Thailand, China, Indonesia, Japan, India, Philippines, and Taiwan. And then a full quarter of the products, the origin was unlisted still. So, I think this really points to the globalized food system that we have and the competition that Hawaii aquaculture is up against, and definitely room for growth. Again, this is from the first quarter of this year. So what types of farm-raised species were available? Well, lots and lots of farmed shrimp. Also not perhaps surprising. So the number of products, this is again by number of products, definitely shrimp and salmon were the top ones. Tilapia coming in third there, and then you can see the breakdown from there. And once we are able to incorporate the rest of the data from this year, we'll definitely see some of these shifts. And then this is a breakdown of the country of origin for those farmed species. So about 7%, only 7% of the farmed retail food products were locally grown or raised in Hawaii. And 25% are of US origin, including Hawaii. And Asia was the source of about 36%. And that included Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, China, India, Philippines, Taiwan, Korea, and Myanmar. About 9% imported from Europe, 9% from South America. So these percentage breakdowns are about on par with global averages for aquaculture production. So the next piece of market research that we've been doing is consumer surveys. So this has been a really fun piece of our research. We have been setting up in front of grocery stores in, again, Hawaii and Honolulu counties to administer a survey. It takes about 10 minutes on an iPad, and consumers receive a $10 Amazon gift card for completing the survey. And these are our research questions behind the survey. So what aquaculture species have market potential? Is there demand for them? What market segments want which species? What prices are folks willing to pay? Secondly, what are people's perceptions of farmed fish versus wild caught versus local raised fish? What seafoods are folks currently purchasing? And which attributes are most important to which segments of consumers when making seafood purchases? And this is where we're employing a survey technique called conjoint analysis, which I'll get into shortly. So this is a little overview of the survey. So the first part of the survey is the conjoint analysis piece. So this is where consumers are presented with two types of seafoods, and they're asked to choose, if you were in a store, which one would you be more likely to buy? And they have varying price levels. Some are whole, some are fillet, some are from Hawaii, some are from US, Thailand, some are farm raised, some are raised in a local i'a, some are certified sustainable, some are not, and I'll get more into what those levels are. They also have the option to choose none, and there's 12 rounds of this. After the conjoint analysis piece, we're asking questions about their purchasing habits. So what seafoods have they bought in the last 30 days? We also ask questions about if they fish themselves, or if they grow fish themselves as well, or if they have family members who share fish with them. So because we understand that the subsistence economy is important for our food system here locally, we're trying to kind of get a measurement of that as well. The seafoods that people are not necessarily paying money for. And then we ask them attitudinal questions. So this is an example here. How do you rate the quality of farm-raised seafood? And we have them rate a few statements on a scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. And then finally, some demographic info to be able to segment our different populations. So again, very preliminary results. We've had 224 responses so far, and we're aiming for 340 at least. But this is a breakdown of what we're seeing. So these are the various attributes that we're measuring. So each of these blue bars is an attribute. So the seafood is, and each of the percentages of these bars adds up to 100%. So 100% being the choice that the consumer ultimately makes. And then each of these attributes is how important that attribute is to that choice that they're making. So you can see that seafood type. So this is the species. Is it shrimp? Is it oysters? Is it nenue? Is it moi? And that accounts for about 34% of their decision, which makes sense, right? Would I eat this seafood or not? Do I like this seafood? Then secondly is the origin. So the origin, again, was either Hawaii, Thailand, or US. And we see that the origin is the second most important variable for consumers when making these seafood choices. Then is the source. So this is either grown in a local i'a, farmed in farm raised, or wild caught. So that is an important factor when people are making their purchasing decisions. And then only then is price coming into play. So we had 3 different price levels: low, medium, and high. No surprise, the low price is the most popular price. But we see that Hawaii consumers are, not just concerned about price when it comes to seafood, but consider other things first. Then came the refrigeration state, so whether it's fresh or frozen, and then finally, then certification, so whether it's certified sustainable, whether it's certified to support Native Hawaiian cultural practices, or no certification. Those are the 3 options. And then finally the form, so whole or fillet, which turns out to be not particularly important in this survey sample. This is so far the optimal package. So there is a strong preference for shrimp that is from Hawaii, that was grown in a Native Hawaiian fish pond, and that is certified to support Native Hawaiian cultural practices. Again, this could shift as we collect more data though. So these are the various species that we included on the survey. We can see them listed along the left here. Shrimp, aholehole, moi, oyster, so Pacific oyster, nenue, mullet, ava, or tilapia. So those are the species that we included. And you can see that shrimp has the highest share of preference, followed by aholehole, and on down from there. And then we see that, so tilapia is currently at the bottom, which, as may not come as a surprise that there is still a stigma against tilapia here locally. And so I think that this just shows that there is an opportunity to, because consumers do care about sustainability, because consumers do care about the origin of their fish, there's an opportunity to provide more education on tilapia to help encourage, the growth of it, because we are importing tilapia. And if we can at least replace our own, the tilapia that we're importing, that would be a big step ahead. So yeah. And then when it comes to the origin of the seafood, by far, seafood that is grown in Hawaii is preferred. And then for the certification, there seems to be a strong preference for a certification that says that this product supports Native Hawaiian cultural practices, which relates to our objective 1B around developing a logo or brand for local i'a products. I think it shows that a logo like that really would have market potential. However, sustainable certification also clearly has market potential, and there's a preference for it over no certification at all. So something to consider for those companies who don't yet have that. These are word clouds from some of the attitudinal data. So we asked the question, what words, stories, or thoughts come to mind when you think about farm-raised seafood? And we coded the responses to be able to group them into 1 to 3 word phrases. And as you can see, I don't know was a very common one. So the larger the words, the more often they were given as a response. So this points to the need for more education around farm-raised seafood. People just don't really understand, perhaps, the implication it could have for food security and for sustainability. However, there are some positive things here as well. We say healthy, tasty, sustainable, good. We also see mass-produced, not natural, GMO, not preferred, pollution, unhealthy, poor tasting. So I think that, and by the way, this word cloud is based off of 160 responses. So because we made these word clouds a couple of weeks ago, so we've gotten more responses on the survey since then. So we will have more, we will be updating this as we go along. But I think that these attitudes will be important to be aware of as we move forward with marketing our aquaculture products. We asked the same question on wild-caught seafood. I'm gonna not dwell on this too long so we can move ahead. But you can see there's a strong association with family, with tradition, however, a strong recognition that overfishing is an issue as well. And then we asked the same question for local raised seafood. And unsurprisingly, a lot of people don't know about these, or haven't tried local grown seafood because there really isn't much available unless you're working in a local yourself or you have family who are. The next pieces of our market research focus on commercial buyer surveys, which are in progress now, and interviews, as well as taste tests. And we look forward to sharing the results of that with you when the project wraps up early next year. For now, I'm going to pass it on to Kuike to talk about Objective 1B.
Mahalo, Carly. Aloha mai kako. My name is Kuike Kamakea Ohelo, and I appreciate all of you for your time today. I have the pleasure of walking us through Objective 1B of this project. Objective 1B, in partnership with fish pond producers, develop and introduce a new trademark and production standard for local raised products that could help distinguish fish pond products from wild-caught or farmed raised. Next slide, Carly. All right, and the Kuleana, well, we have chosen to create a local steering committee as the platform to implement and drive forward Objective 1B of this project. So the Kuleana of the local steering committee responsibilities is to engage in discussions to develop potential production standards and a potential local cooperative product logo in partnership with Kua Aina Uluawamo, or Kua. Next slide, please. All right, so here's our local steering committee. This is not everyone in the steering committee. However, this is the most previous in-person gatherings. So over the duration of this project, we will hold 2 in-person meetings with the local steering committee, and we also meet monthly via Zoom. Yeah, and next slide. So the following slides, present the results of discussions held within the local steering committee. So here in front of you, local steering committee ecosystem services team. So conversations around ecosystem services play a vital role in informing marketing and branding decisions for traditional Hawaiian fish ponds or local. These discussions allow us to effectively communicate the value of local products to the public by highlighting their regenerative practices, contribution to overall ahupua'a health, restoration efforts, cultural significance, and various ecosystem services. And as you see here, quantitative measurements such as phytoplankton and zooplankton levels, dissolved oxygen, pH, salinity, fish and wildlife presence, educational outreach, and production levels, and biodiversity demonstrate the positive impact of local fish ponds on the environment, society, as well as Hawaiian culture. Through these measurements, we can showcase the sustainable practices, preservation of traditions, and ecological benefits of local products, fostering understanding and more support from the public. Next slide, please. And local cooperative and marketing branding. So a local cooperative, what we found through the conversations and discussions, that it has the potential to serve multiple important functions. Firstly, it can assist in marketing and branding efforts, helping to promote and create awareness about the local and its products. Secondly, the cooperative can aggregate products from various local sites, ensuring a steady and consistent supply of fish and other aquatic resources to the market. It can also provide support in grant writing, helping to secure funding for the cooperative's activities and initiatives. Moreover, the cooperative can offer permitting support, assisting members in navigating the complex process of obtaining necessary permits. Additionally, it can engage in policy advocacy. I mean, that was one of the themes that kept coming up is, we need more representation. And when I say we, I mean specifically from the Hui Malama Lokui'a gathering in May, or through these conversations with Lokui'a practitioners that are members of the steering committee. And then the cooperative can also provide valuable assistance with access to land, facilitating partnerships and lease agreements for Lokui'a development. The product standardization is also another important function, ensuring that all Lokui'a products meet a certain quality and safety standards. And professional development was one of the last things, so trainings can be organized by the cooperative to enhance the skills and knowledge of its members, enabling them to excel in their roles. So finally, the cooperative can play a vital role in enforcing kapu, and this is a great point. Yeah, is a lot of practitioners, a lot of kia'i loko have expressed, the ongoing process of restoring and, rearing a pua of ohua in their ponds for it to just get to market, and then they see somebody come in from the outside of the wall and just harvest their, what i'a they have. So yeah, by playing a vital role in enforcing kapu, they contribute to preserving the integrity and sustainability of Lokui'a for future generations. And lastly, stay tuned for an upcoming Lokui'a cooperative logo mock-up, which we hope that will visually represent the cooperative's identity and values. And I apologize if I spoke too fast, but this concludes my portion of today's presentation, and I'll pass it back to you, Carly. So mahalo nui for your time.
Awesome. So again, for objective 2, we have a lot forthcoming. We are conducting currently interviews and surveys, as well as doing desk research. So if there are any aquaculture folks out there who would be interested in providing an interview or filling out one of our surveys, that would be wonderful. I might pass that along to Jean to share those opportunities, and then as well as desk research. And then finally, we are working on sharing out our findings. So we have a newsletter that's coming out monthly. You can subscribe at this Google form here, which I can drop in the chat after. And then we'll also be holding another webinar at the close of the project in addition to this one, and an in-person gathering as well early next year. So I just have we want to ensure that this research that we're doing is important, is useful to the aquaculture industry, not just to local i'a, but to also commercial industries that are already out there, or companies that are already out there. And so, our questions for you are, what market research questions do you have? How can this data be useful to you? What are your main challenges in selling to the Hawaii market? And how can collaboration help to address market and supply chain challenges? And perhaps you can email us with your answers, or we can talk story more. I know we're out of time, but if anyone, so I'll pass it back to Jean. So thank you so much for the opportunity to present to you, and we look forward to working together more.
Mahalo, Carly and Kuike. Let's see. Oh, okay. So Jeff, can you back up on your slides, Carly, please? If you could put those questions back on the screen. And does anyone have questions for Carly now? And Kuike, I know we're short on time, but if you'd like to stick around, please feel free to ask your question. I guess I have a question, Carly and Kuike. So the survey that you want the industry to complete, how long is it? Is it like a written survey? Is it like a interview? Like what is it?
Yep. So there's 2 requests. The first request is for an hour-long interview on Zoom. But the second request, if that is too much commitment, is a survey, which takes about an online survey, which takes about 10 minutes, and we can email that link to you.
Okay. Yeah. What questions do we have from our industry partners or from any other stakeholders? I see we have some policymakers online too.
I have a quick question. This is Amy Prusso.
Hi. I represent Prusso.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the presentation. That was really informative. I I understand that this survey that you're developing is market research, but then I'm wondering if you're also interested in the institutional procurement possibilities, like because I've been working a lot in the farm to school and farm to state space, and we're trying to regionalize farm to school. So it seems to me like some regions might be better poised to participate in that than other regions. Are you strictly focusing on like private markets?
Great question. Yeah. So we are, no, that's just where most of our research has been so far, is on the individual consumer side. However, we are also currently administering a survey to commercial buyers. So a lot of, and we would like to include institutional purchasers in that. And so if you have any connections to institutional purchasers that might be willing to fill out that survey to help us collect that data, that would be really helpful. We have about 8 responses so far on that survey. And yeah, so that's the short answer. And then also we're looking for interviewees. Mostly, we've interviewed like HFA, so more distributor types. But we are definitely interested in talking to institutional purchasers.
Okay, great. Thanks. I'll get you some of those contacts.
Wonderful. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Representative Peruso. Any other questions at this time for Carly and Kuike? All right. Well, we want to thank you so much, Carly and Kuike, for the great work that you're doing to support the aquaculture industry. And we are looking forward to hearing about the results of your work in early next year. And so that's it for today. Thanks everyone for attending, and we'll see you next month or sooner than that, I hope. Aloha, everyone. Thank you.
Mahalo.
Thank you.